Real news. True, honest, and not fake news.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Real News Uncensored. Back here with Mr. Alex and myself. And we're going to start off with the big story that everybody's been talking about for the past week. They've been milking the crap out of it, but it's finally happened. President Trump has picked his nomination for the soon-to-be empty Supreme Court seat of Justice Kennedy, who's now retiring. Trump has picked Brett Kavanaugh. And if you don't know who this guy is, I'll give you a quick rundown of his credentials and his background. Guy went to Yale. He was a clerk for Justice Kennedy. He's written 300 opinions as a justice. He's been on the D.C. Circuit Court for 12 years. He was also a White House staff secretary under George W. Bush for 3 years. In terms of personal stuff, he's a basketball coach. Does a lot, I guess, religious services and whatnot, because he mentioned how he feeds the poor. And overall, because I watched the announcement for him, and where Trump gave his speech and then Kavanaugh gave his little speech, came off very likable, very kind, articulate, smart, and a pretty moderate choice. I would say Gorsuch is probably more conservative. This guy seems like a moderate. And of course, you're hearing all the fear-mongering. You've been hearing it for weeks, and now you're hearing it. It's going to ramp up big time now that Trump's actually picked somebody. Because you hear all these Democrats saying he's going to take away reproductive rights and women's rights and all this, fear-mongering and apocalyptic talk. But I actually looked on Wikipedia, and interestingly enough, there's not much on his stance on abortion, but it did say, and I quote from Wikipedia, Kavanaugh has stated that he considers Roe v. Wade binding under the principle of stare decisis. I don't know what that... Deceased.
Learn your Latin, mofo.
I'm not good with Latin, as you can tell. I honestly don't even know what that is, but continue the quote, and would seek to uphold it, but has also ruled in favor of some restrictions for abortion. And that's kind of what I've been expecting. I think it's possible Roe v. Wade could be overturned, but at the same time, I think you're just going to see... I think it's unlikely it will be overturned. I think what's more likely is abortion restrictions, which I'm personally fine with in principle, but it depends on, of course, the case-by-case basis. And I think what you're going to see is the left is going to try to frame this, because it's hard to really, do something with somebody that's so smart like a justice. Like, how are they going to spin this one sort of deal? I think they're basically going to say, it's just another straight white Catholic male that's now... becoming a part of the patriarchy. He's joining the patriarchy. I really think that's just how they're going to spin it. So it's just this white male who is they're going to probably frame him as a religious nut, he isn't. But, when you get to those confirmation or nomination hearings, where you have all these senators grilling him, trying to, do gotchas on him, they're not going to stand a chance. They're nowhere near as smart as these justices are, and they're going to look like fools. And that's what they look like with Gorsuch. They look like fools. But I think in this specific case, they're literally going to look like they're beating up a choir boy. It's going to look like they're beating up just a nice, kind guy. Because that's how he comes off. He's sort of like that, neighbor that goes to church every Sunday and, says hi to you every day. And they'll help you mow your lawn and let you borrow tools. He just seems like a very decent, nice guy. And they're going to look really bad when they start trying to smear this guy and beat him up. Like I said, they're going to look like they're beating up a choir boy.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what Trump had to go and do, because they knew if he had anyone, even moderately, something like a Gorsuch, he wouldn't be voted in. Because it's already, they kept losing conservatives due to the special elections and crap. It's getting down to, I think it's 51... Republican and 49 or whatever for the leftists, for the Democrats or something like that. And there's probably some middle independents in there or whatever. But he probably shouldn't have mentioned the Roe versus Wade thing. I think that was kind of bad decision, because now it's going to be this long drawn out process. But I think this could be, he seems like he's all right. I mean, I'd like to see Roe versus Wade overturned, but I like to see how this Kavanaugh, this Brett
Kavanaugh.
fellow. Yeah, I like to see what he does. Although I did see some memes with Ben Shapiro. He's like, I'm going down to
Oh.
DC for unspecified reasons. That's important. Like, dude, shut up. He's not
Yeah.
going to do you. You've been like against him since like day one. Maybe if you were like actually not a complete jackass to him, like during the entire election cycle, he might consider you. But like, even then, like, there's no way in hell that even if Trump wanted to, which I doubt he does, that you'd be able to go and get in there because like you're, at least to the, normies, you seem like ultra conservative. Ben Shapiro, oh, he doesn't like gay marriage. Oh no, like there's no way he'd get put in there. And for me, I don't want Ben Shapiro. The only good thing he had running from was he was like relatively young. I don't know how old this Brett guy is, but I hope he's not like super old because that's what the left is doing. And honestly, I think they should have like a 20-year like limit on there or something because this is getting like ridiculous with some of these old farts on there. Like look at that lady, that
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah, good lord, she just needs to like go to a retirement home. Like there should be a law on there that if you have like dementia, you can't be on the Supreme Court. Like I'm pretty sure she's probably up there with that. She needs to go out with Ginsburg and with
Well, I think Ginsburg will probably retire or die during Trump's first or second term, but they have a life term so that the courts don't get politicized. Like it's actually a very smart thing.
They do get politicized. Like look at this. This is gonna be politicized. The Gorsuch thing was super politicized.
Yeah, but you gotta limit it. Yeah, you gotta limit it.
It's not limited. It's just like, you get to come put someone in here who'll be there until you die, which just makes it so that like the left will put some guy in there who's like 20 years old if they go supermajority. So and then you have them for like 60 years, 70 years maybe.
Yeah, but they don't do that because young judges are inexperienced and will never get confirmed, and that's what happened. With that's why Trump picks like Kavanaugh is because he's got experience, and he didn't pick that woman. I already forget her name. She's totally irrelevant now, but she had like no experience. And you were asking about his age. He's 53, so he'll easily be in there for the next generation of 20 years.
But like I could see the left trying to go and put some illegal immigrant in there as a judge. Who's like 18 years old or something, unless there's like a limit on there. Like, do they even technically have to be judges beforehand? Like, I'm not sure.
No, they don't, because people are talking about Mike Lee, the senator Mike Lee being picked. And again, I don't know why conservatives are talking about that, because he's a senator. He knows nothing about, he's not an expert in the law. Just because he, is really good at articulating things and he loves the Constitution doesn't mean he understands it and can interpret it properly. And that's why you pick judges, and that's who you should pick. That's one of those things where I do agree that, traditionally we do X, so we should do X. Obviously I vote for Trump, someone that didn't do tradition in terms of, voting a guy with no political experience. But, in terms of a Supreme Court judge, like that's a very, 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 very important position that requires somebody that understands the law at a deeper level. And I want to address the Ben Shapiro thing because that's fucking pissed me off. Ben Shapiro, if you're listening to this, you can get fucked because this, you're the Benji, never Trump, Trump will never appoint a conservative justice. Shapiro is the one that's now, wailing his arm up like, oh, Trump, pick me, pick me, pick me, I'll be a justice. Dude, fuck you, okay? I don't punch to the right, but I do punch at never Trumpers. Not literally. Don't take me out of context. Don't misrepresent me.
I don't think that anything to worry about.
Yeah.
No, who would actually, I wouldn't mind if he was a justice. Like, I would have, would never happen unless we had like a super majority.
Alex
if we had
Jones.
like like Ted Cruz, I think he would have made a good justice because he actually did have some experience in there.
Yeah, I don't know about Ted Cruz's credentials.
He had I think he was a lawyer.
Yeah, I think he's a lawyer, but that to me doesn't do enough to be a justice because you gotta be somebody that's constantly using the Constitution and learning it at a deeper level.
Lawyers kind of do. That's like why they get paid so much.
Yeah, but I think they're dealing more with like state laws and federal laws. They're not dealing with the actual Constitution.
I mean, you have to kind of do that with the Constitution too, and like he'd be a strict constitutionalist. I feel
he would,
but I mean, there's no way in hell he'd ever be able to get on there unless there was like a apocalyptic majority. And then we'd probably have to worry about like World War III breaking out because like the Antifa thugs will go out in the street and just like I don't know, start beating up trash cans or something again.
Oh, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this guy. Like, the fear-mongering is going to be insane, and the smearing is going to be insane. Like, it's going to be, Gorsuch, they had some of it, but they're scared of this guy getting confirmed so badly, because they know it's going to happen, that they're just going to go all out, and you're going to see people, like, freaking out. Like, there was this video done by, I forget who, but you'll probably find somewhere, where they were asking people, what do you think of Trump's Supreme Court pick? Like, oh, it's terrible. The guy is far right and extremist and crazy. And they were asking these questions before Trump actually made the pick. And I went to HuffPo, their cancer's homepage, and the headline literally reads, "Trump goes hard right." Like, they're already, like, jumping on this guy's a radical right-winger. He really isn't. Like, he's actually pretty moderate, Like, he's like a few ticks away from Gorsuch, who's a solid conservative. So this guy put like, pretty strong right lean, but not hard right. Like, he's like a moderate to, solid conservative leaning guy. Like, it's just, I just find it so disingenuous. Because when you see people like Chuck Schumer, like, spouting this fear that he's already spouted, you know darn well that Chuck Schumer doesn't believe this. Like, you know fucking well that Chuck Schumer does not believe the fear and is not living the fear that he is spewing. And it's disingenuous and unhealthy for the country to be doing that, because you're making other people go crazy and be fearful, like, oh, they're going to take away my abortions or my women's rights, oh, I'm not going to be able to vote anymore. Like, it's just, unhealthy and unproductive.
Well, here's the thing, too. Like, I kept seeing all these articles like, Trump gave out a litmus test. Oh, God. Well, the thing is, they've had litmus tests since, like, at least 50 years. Like, this goes way back. Like, every president who's worth his salt knows anything about the Supreme Court is going to give a litmus test. Now, they probably won't just go out and say, I'm going to do a litmus test on abortion or gun control or this or that. But they often do, behind the scenes, have these litmus tests.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's pretty important. But, anyways, I think time will tell how this goes. I think just because it was a Trump appointee, it's going to be like, it's going to go out in the courts in the whatever they do, like just the back and forth with him.
The Senate confirmation.
I don't think there's a good chance he won't get confirmed just because he's Republican. So, if you're smart, vote in the midterms in 2018, like, when was that, November or something? Yeah,
November 2018 midterms. Because they're going to try and do this before midterms, but you got to remember there's a chance it could not, pass through because Republicans have a slim hold on the Senate. So anything's possible. And I'd like to, go back to Ben Shapiro for a second and to all these other never-Trumpers and say, fuck you guys again, because if we didn't have Trump, we would have had Hillary today making this decision and appointing a second justice to the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm sorry, but all you, low principle, never Trumpers, gotta realize that, okay, maybe Trump wasn't your favorite. Maybe he wasn't the best or the most conservative. I understand that. It's fine. You can have that opinion. But he is a step in the right direction. He is better than Hillary by miles. We gotta realize that we're very lucky he won, because the next generation would be under Hillary appointed justices.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, it's either Hillary or Trump, and I'd pick Trump, even if it was like, and like Trump, he survived the competition. Like, of all the other Republican candidates, he came out on top. So he's like, and then he saw the Democrats, they only had like, a few of them, and they're all like crazy. Yeah. Both the Republican ones, you had the run of the gamut, like everything from like, Bobby Jimdahl to, who's that guy? Like from Ohio,
Hungry Kasich.
Yeah, Hungry Hippo. We had the whole gamut, and that's who we got out, like hardened through all that stuff, and then he went on to beat Clinton. So yeah, that was Yeah, just have faith in them and vote in the November midterms. Because if we get like if we get an even larger majority, like enough for a super majority, and like actual people who will work with Trump, we could do some great things over here. So make sure you vote.
Yep, I second that. Like, I couldn't say that any better.
All right, but next on the list we have some information about the supposed Rocket Man CD.
Oh man, do you want me to read this one?
Yeah, you read it out.
Yeah, I'm still laughing over it. Well, you probably all saw somewhere like a few days ago that this news from a South Korean media outlet said that Mike Pompeo, when he was going to visit Kim Jong-un, was going to give him a Elton John CD featuring the song Rocket Man on it. And it was supposedly going to be signed by Trump with a note enclosed. I'm laughing my ass off when I first heard this. Like, this is like top tier trolling from Trump that's just funny and brilliant at the same time. Because that's where I think he got the nickname from, was actually the song Rocket Man by Elton John, which is a famous song everybody knows, and all that. But when he was in the meeting, he supposedly asked Kim Jong-un, do you know this? Because Kim brought up his nickname Rocket Man that Trump gave Kim Jong-un. He said, well, what is that? And Trump said, well, do you know the song? And Kim said no. So then Trump supposedly sent the CD. Well, fast forward a few days, and as you know, I've been saying supposedly a lot, because unfortunately it turns out that Pompeo did not give him this CD, and it didn't happen. Maybe it will still happen, I don't know, but it would have been hilarious. So I was kind of disappointed to hear that. Like, if you want to talk about disappointing news, it was that. Because it just sounds so funny and nice and cool. It's like one of those things that only Trump would do that's just badass, but one can still hope.
Yeah, I thought that would have been pretty funny, but it just so happens to be fake news. But speaking of like possibly fake news, I just saw it today. And I looked this up on YouTube, and I see in like the internet in general, like I use DuckDuckGo because they're not Google, but I see a bunch of information that Russia is apparently planning to move 15,000 Boer Afrikaners as like refugees into their country.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I would like to see that. I hope that Russia actually does this, because that'd be some great news, because the rest of the West just kind of forgot about them. So, this is the type of Russia collusion that I think that we need over here. 15,000 of them. That might not be a lot, considering there's probably like several million in South Africa. But maybe you'll get like Europe to start getting some refugees who might not like screw everything up, because they seem like they're the Afrikaners themselves seem like they're pretty good people. I know a few of them, and they're very hardworking people. They just kind of got screwed over because of circumstance and history, and they're kind of painted as the villains. So Russia's already painted as the villain, so it wouldn't be that big of a move.
Yeah, I saw you sent this to me. I haven't really read up much on it, but hey, there's some Russian collusion for you, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bonus fact for this week off the script. We're going to break that conditioning right here.
Yes.
News.
Oh, can I break the conditioning too?
Yes.
Okay. I can't believe I had to ask permission to do that. But I didn't put it on the script. I want to mention, because it is slowly starting to develop, Brexit news. Brexit has been getting cucked for the past 2 years because it still hasn't happened. And anybody that has been following, I'm gonna give you just a quick little spiel of what's just happened today. Boris Johnson, who was in the cabinet of Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain, big Brexiteer, just dropped out of the cabinet. And some other guy, I'm sorry, I forget his name already, also dropped out, who's like another important person getting Brexit happen. And the reason this is happening is because what they're trying to do is create a vote of no confidence, which would basically get rid of Theresa May. It's kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of like impeachment, but in terms of like a no confidence impeachment. And they're going to try and get a prime minister who's actually for Brexit and will actually make it happen, unlike Theresa May, because she's rolling out this plan that would basically, it's not even Brexit. It's, we're going to be under EU laws and regulations, but it's going to be under a different name. And it's, that's, I guess she proposed it today, and that's why this is all happening. And, Boris Johnson, who's a funny, cool guy, he was on Top Gear in a few interviews. He's, trying to, I guess, instigate this no confidence vote, or get to happen. And even fucking Jeremy Corbyn is, like, on their side in this one. Like, so they have a fucking chance here. And we're going to see how it plays out. But I want to mention it because, some of us here on the other side of the pond, don't follow European news, but it's very important because this is part of the populist movement. Of course, it's sweeping America and Europe. And Nigel Farage has said in various interviews and tweets that if by March 2019 the Brexit hasn't happened yet, he will try to become the UKIP leader again. Right now, he's not a part of it. There's a different guy there that's the head, and his term ends in March 2019. He's been a pretty good leader, the UKIP guy that's been leading it. But, of course, Nigel, he's the one that made Brexit happen. He's the Brexiteer, the Brexiteer. He's the Brexit man. Like, this was his thing. It was his life goal, and he made it happen. And, it's not happening, and he doesn't want to see it robbed, and all his time and effort and hard work wasted. So, we'll keep following that and keep you posted. If you go to @versanewsmedia on Twitter, you will see updates from us because I tweet out some important news and whatnot that people aren't talking about. And of course, you can look us up on Facebook. Type in Versa Media and you should find us.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing too with that. With like the Brexit.
Yeah.
Have you ever been like high school and you had that like one kid who's like, oh, I'm gonna be moving to like, Scotland or England or like some fancy place in the Middle East. Like it's just like being a bullshit artist.
Yeah.
And they never do it.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I'm gonna inherit I'm gonna get like a Ferrari from my parents and they never get one. I feel like it's like that with Brexit. It's just like, oh, we'll do this eventually, and then it never happens. It's like one of those sort of situations. It's just like, okay, come on, we know you're bullshitting. Just admit to it. Like, that's exactly what's going on over here. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go and like stop smoking today, and then they don't. They just like get lung cancer and die, and that's what's gonna happen to like England, and they're just gonna get cancer and die. And instead of cancer, it's gonna be like all sorts of major problems, and it's going to have like another civil war, and it won't even be England by the time we're done with it. Not like, but the problems that are currently undergoing within England become surfaced more.
Yeah, because what people got to understand is like, it's kind of like in America where we have like a deep state or an elite or an establishment or whatever phrase you want to call it that's sort of pushing back against the Trump agenda. That's what's happening with Brexit. Is there's a elitist, globalist, establishment that doesn't want Brexit to happen. They're going to fight tooth and nail to try and stop it, even though the people chose for it to happen. Say what you will about Brexit, but people, democratically voted for it to happen, so it better happen. I mean, I could go on and on, but it's one of those things that just annoys me. That's like, even when you have a victory, you still gotta keep fighting. It doesn't end.
Yeah, I think like Poland will leave the European Union before like England does, and they haven't even announced it yet.
Yeah.
Like we'll have everyone out. Like there will be no more like European Union. It'll just be like Britain, France, and Germany, and then by that point, Britain's like, okay, I guess we're done here. And everyone else has already jumped ship. And it's like not even that they're caring about. Like the immigration problem, that was like supposed to be one of the major reasons for them to have considered this.
Yeah.
And they still are like importing, lots of migrants into England, and people are, they're pretty upset about that from what I hear.
Yeah.
And it's just like completely. These people are just like, oh, we'll not be in the European Union, but we'll still pay for European stuff, and it'll be probably even more expensive, and it'll keep getting more migrants than the European Union would even like allow. So it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then good luck with like Northern Ireland too, because that's going to be a very interesting situation over there, no matter what they do, because they're pretty agitatable bunch from what I understand of British history.
Yeah, there's a bit of history there, is right.
But I'm surprised that like the IRA hasn't come back with like all like recently with all the issues involved with like the gangs of just violence and whatnot in the British Isles from migrants. I'm kind of surprised. I would have thought they would have came back up. Like the mafia was apparently fighting like some migrants. Like there was some issues. I remember seeing like a headline back then. I'm kind of surprised the IRA hasn't popped up because they always tend to pop up when you least expect them. Like like a hemorrhoid.
You just equate the IRA to a hemorrhoid.
Well, no, like I can understand like why they did it, but it's kind of screwed up. I mean, I'm not Irish, I'm not English, so I mean, I'm Catholic though, so I mean, take that as you will. But they can go and do their own thing, I suppose. I mean, we kind of declared independence from England, so I don't really. And the stuff that they did, like tarring and feathering people, that's pretty bad. Like people usually died from that, and we broke a bunch of stuff and blew up things. So I mean, I don't know. That's probably gonna go and get restricted for even.
Yeah, we're in restricted mode now.
I don't know. I don't know enough about them, but I was surprised they haven't popped up. It's like the whack-a-mole. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. I think. Well, I don't know how bad it is in Ireland because a lot of the mass migration from these Muslim majority countries has gone into London specifically. Like not just England, but specifically London has seen like the heat of it. So I really don't know how much it's affected Ireland. But
like, what are they gonna look for in Ireland? Like potatoes?
I don't think Muslims are fans of potatoes, to be honest.
They might be. I don't know. Like,
well, it isn't bacon, so they might.
Well, like I don't know. Like what's really in Ireland today? I mean, I don't really hear much about them except for like Guinness. That's pretty bad. But and whiskey, but
there's a lot of beer, there's a lot of green, and there's a lot of drunk people.
This sounds like Louisiana, kind of.
Yeah, kind of is, but across
except for
the pond.
Green.
Yeah, it's a very different green for sure. But
unless there's like a new leprechaun over there. Here's the fruity. Here's the what's the Lucky Charms? Real lucky.
Lucky Charms IRL.
Yes. Charms IRA. He's an IRA.
IRA, IRL. I accidentally made that joke for the record. But speaking of Lucky Charms, Hillary Clinton has supposedly been secretly planning a 2020 run. I really don't know what to make of this news, except I fully endorse it. I hope she does it. Please fucking do it, Hillary. Because if you run in 2020, Trump will not have beaten you once, but he will beat you a second time by even bigger of a margin. And he may probably very well, this time, get the popular vote. Because I think it's possible she could step in. I think what she's really just doing here is leaving the door open. Because there's no clear front run for the Dems yet. They're very confused and in disarray, and they've broken off into so many fractions. They're eating each other up. That she's kind of just sitting it back going, you know what, I better leave the door open here. I better put my foot in the door. And, I have money, and she's got an arrogance about her. She keeps telling everybody how she won the popular vote, so she still thinks she can fucking win. Well, Hillary, guess what? That's not how our system works. To quote you, Hillary yourself, you gotta win the electoral vote. It's not just a popularity contest. You were playing the game that didn't matter. So it's possible, but I don't think she's really going to do it. The party won't support her. The donors won't support her because she's a failure. She failed twice already. 2 strikes, you're out really in this game. And I don't see any. She's so unlikable. Nobody wants her. And she just keeps popping up. For Republicans, we want her to keep talking, but for Democrats, for the sake of your party, you should shut her up as soon as possible. I can't believe you haven't done that already. You literally should be paying her to be shut up. You got to be at desperate points now because she makes you guys look so bad. Move on, get a new face that's young, moderate, and has new ideas.
No, let them do that. I don't want to give them any advice.
Yeah, I know. I'm giving them too much advice here.
Well, here's the thing with Hillary Clinton. The only door she should be leaving open is one to the retirement home. She needs to go. Talking about things resurfacing. if the IRA is like the hemorrhoid of like Ireland, then she's like the herpes of the Democratic Party. She just
Herpes
keeps
Hillary.
and making the whole party look bad. It's like, oh, see, there's a herpes sore over here. Maybe we should go and like not. And that's like Hillary Clinton. She's like so unlikable. She lost multiple times. Like she's getting old. Like I don't think her heart can handle it. She already like started passing out before. And Trump was fine. He's probably older than her. I think he is by a couple years, and he's in so much better health. She's not. Her husband looks like a heat miser from the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoon. I know what she would be like. If you ever see like Hocus Pocus, like the one witch in there is like.
Oh, I was gonna say the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, like not quite green yet. Give it a couple months.
Oh, there's some green for you.
Oh god, like she just needs to stop.
I know.
Like, but it's kind of great though, because if she does run, it's gonna make them look so bad. Like, come on,
Yes.
like give someone else a shot. You've already had your time in the limelight. You got to go to the White House, for 8 years. That should be more than anyone else gets to. We're not going to go back to the times of Roosevelt, where you're in the White House for like 16 years or whatever, like 12. I don't know how long he was in there. It was for a while.
Yeah.
But she's already been there. She's been there. The Democrats would think it'd be nice to have a first woman president, but like why would you want her to be the first woman president? There's probably like so many other options that you have. Like all of them are kind of terrible because they're all Democrats, but like,
yeah, because people always say like, oh. Like you'd ask me, like, why are you voting for Furry? Because I want her to be the first woman president. Or they'll say it's time for a woman president. I don't give a shit as to the gender of who I'm voting for, and I wouldn't mind a woman president at all, but not fucking Hillary Clinton. Okay, like I'd vote for a woman for president, but not her. It's quite simple as that, but. I did check her age. She is 70 years old. Looks like shit. They had to, she fainted at a 9/11, memorial service, and they chucked her in a van when it was only like, a decent temperature. It wasn't even hot. She then claimed she had pneumonia, and then she was tripping down those steps in India. Like, she's a fucking old lady. Like, that's just, I wouldn't want her in the White House. You want somebody that's high energy, good health, that's gonna, be, on his A game at the 3 a.m. phone call, as the cliche goes. You don't want somebody that's, you want somebody that's old enough that they have experience, of course, but you don't want somebody that's too fucking old that they're ready to die. Now, I know what people are gonna say is they're gonna go, oh, but Trump is 2 years older than Hillary. He's 72. Yes, but Trump is 72 years old, but he acts like a 50-year-old. The guy looks great. His skin looks great. His hair looks great. He's running around on stage and having a good time, no problem. He doesn't look like he's aged a bit. The guy is, high energy, doesn't sleep much, like 3-4 hours a night. He is, robust. He's an Energizer Bunny. Hillary is like the fucking... herpes Hillary she literally is like herpes. I can't think of a better analogy. Like, she keeps coming back. Nobody wants her. And she's, like, just this cancer to the party and to the country. Like, just, I bet if you ran Ocasio-Cortez, the socialist that won in New York, against Hillary in 2020, she'd fucking win the nomination over Hillary.
Absolutely. Like you saw how like Bernie was stopping her, and then he was some crazy socialist from Vermont that like would never win in a general election.
Yeah.
And thank God. I can't stand socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it. It's all crap to me.
Yeah.
But like she's just unlikable. It's like she never took off her wig for Halloween. It's just like on the
wig, you mean mask.
Maybe like one time out of the year, I would like to go and see her face, and that's during Halloween. So it's a good scare. And I'll give that person some candy because they picked a very scary costume.
She wouldn't need a mask.
Yeah, she doesn't. She really doesn't. Just going to take off, like, put off the makeup, or actually keep it on, looks even more hideous. Speaking of, like, interest, like, hideous and deplorable things that happen.
Actually, deplorable.
There's been some, recently, there's been a lot of harassment going on with people on the right. And, earlier this week, they had a lady yelling at Stephen Bannon at a bookstore And then the clerk at the bookstore to go and call the police, telling her to leave. She didn't. And then the police came and got her out of there. And then later that week, Mitch McConnell, when he left dinner, like he was being harassed by people into a restaurant's parking lot, and then people calling him Turtlehead. Some guy comes up in like a red sports car or something, tells him to fuck off, and they're like, "Oh, that's so vulgar." It's like, no, you're like harassing someone just for eating. Like, when does this stuff stop? Like, the other week we had the red hen harassing and refusing service for Sarah Sanders, and now this week you have people going around the street harassing, like a bunch of Democrats. I think they're Democratic Socialists, which I don't even know what the hell that means. That's like, National Democratic Socialist Party. It's a bunch of bullshit. And these people are just thugs going out there trying to go and like make people's lives terrible. And like they even said that to Mitch McConnell that they knew where he lived, and like implying they're going to harass him over there. Which, it is probably public knowledge where he lives because he is a senator, but still, that's screwed up. And I can only imagine what these people will do. And they're going to end up costing the taxpayer money, because I bet, Steve Bannon and Mitch McConnell are probably going to be able to justify getting like a Secret Service to protect them, because these leftists are unhinged. You can see what happened in that like baseball game a couple years ago, where the guy got shot by some lunatic leftist. And now these people are just like begging for it. How long before we see like another Republican senator get shot? Like you saw what's going on with Rand Paul. He's been like, people like his neighbor was like threatening to like chop him up or something with an axe.
Well, no, the neighbor actually attacked him, but then some other guy. Okay, Rand Paul. First of all, he was at the Steve Scalise shooting. Where the I think Steve Scalise, the senator, got shot. Rand Paul was there. Rand Paul was then attacked by his neighbor. And then he was threatened by somebody recently that threatened to chop him up with an axe.
Yeah, this is going on for far too long. Like, why is the mainstream media not like making a big deal about this? This isn't like politics as usual. This is radical Democrat terrorism going on. We have like left-wing death squads going about. It's right now as left-wing harassment squads. They got their brown shirts going around trying to go and spark it up. And all it takes is one guy who's crazy, and they'll end up getting to go and commit like a dangerous act. Like they know where he lives. They might go and burn his house down. They might go and like shoot it up. Who knows? These you get those people that Trump's Hitler, and they can justify anything.
Yeah,
they'll justify killing these Trump abettors, and they'll end up like we'll start to see like political terrorism that America hasn't seen since like the 60s.
Yeah, since the Weather Underground.
Yeah, that's a sad thing that's going on right now. Like, I like living in this country. I liked, when you could have a disagreement with someone, but now it's like, oh, we're gonna get you fired from your job, then harass you at home, harass your parents, break into your house and like hurt you and your kids, and threaten to go and chop you up. This is really disturbing, and like I think that if this is to continue, we're going to start to see like political violence become the norm in America. And it's not because Trump got elected. It's because the left can't handle Trump.
Yeah.
And they're resorting to violent actions and terrorist actions. And I think that we need to go and, first off, Antifa needs to be labeled a major terrorist organization.
They have been.
And, it's not like labeled like as much as, it's not like a legitimate thing now. Like, it's I don't know if they did label it like in a small one, but they need to be like actively research, find out everyone who goes there. If you're wearing a mask, like an Antifa black bloc clothing at a protest, you need to be detained and thrown into the same that like a actual terrorist is being thrown into. Like I know Antifa people, they harass people on the right, they punch them in the face, they hit them with locks. And they end up like getting out of jail, pretty much scot-free. Sometimes they end up paying like a little fine or staying in jail for like a couple weeks. But they should be sent to jail under anti-terrorism laws for years for this political violence.
Yeah, because that's what they did when Ben Shapiro, I can't believe we keep mentioning his fucking name, went to Berkeley, UC Berkeley. This was after the Milo incident where Antifa burned down the campus. This was after Ann Coulter, where they stopped her from coming to campus. Ben Shapiro came to UC Berkeley with a $600,000 security fee. And what happened? They instituted a no-mask policy. And did you see Antifa? Nope. Not a single one of them. And that's what you gotta do. They did that with the KKK back in the day, and boom, disappeared. Do it here, boom, disappear. And like you said, this is I have always condemned political violence on both sides, and I think I'm not trying to sound partisan here, if anybody says that, but at least when the right has its violence, which is rare, they condemn it. When the left has their political violence, they don't say anything, or they say shit like Maxine Waters, where they encourage harassment of Trump supporters and people, not even just Trump supporters, but just people that you disagree with that are moderately, to the right of you as a leftist. You don't even have to be right to get shit on. Look at Dave Rubin. He is a gay Jewish liberal. A liberal in the sense of he is pro-abortion, anti-death penalty, and a whole bunch of other things. And this guy's trying to give speeches at places, and he's getting heckled. And people are, calling him racist and sexist and anti-gay, all kinds of shit. And it's stuff I always hate. I just hate this stuff because it's like we get so silly over nothing. We're literally, harassing people over ideas, over things we disagree with. It's just gotten ridiculous. Like, Steve Bannon was just at a bookstore browsing books, and this lady's like going nuts over him. Like, can't you let people live in peace? If you want to, actually change their mind, go up to them nicely and talk to them and try to have a discussion. Don't harass them. There's nothing productive or kind or welcoming of that. And if this keeps up, which I think it will, this is peak bad optics. This is going to hurt Democrats. This is going to hurt their chances at midterms because the Republican voter and the center voters, the moderates, the centrists, are now going to fear of these people like Maxine Waters getting power. People that are calling for harassment against you now have the chance of getting in power. That's kind of terrifying. And, because it was just they were going after Trump, but now they're coming after you. They're coming after you as, an average Joe. And that scares people, so they don't want these people getting power. So they're going to, even if they're not right-wing, they're going to vote for the other guy on the, that's on the right, just so that the left-winger doesn't get in, because they will see them as radical, violent, and a threat to their life. That sounds like it could be hyperbole. I understand that, but this is the perception that they're giving off by not only doing harassment, but encouraging it. It might die off in a bit, but this is a really bad moment for them. This is peak bad optics. It is just really bad.
Well, you know what this is going to do? This is going to cause a reaction, and people will seek to have a right-wing safety squads. They will start popping up as an alternative, as a way to go and keep you from getting doxxed and harassed and beat up, and you're going to start to see this violence on the streets again, like Charlottesville is going to start becoming more common because people. It's either you're for us or against us, and then they're going to start grouping up. Then you're going to see the radicals on the right start to go and try to protect themselves, because it's all fun and games until you're on the street and they say a bunch of people going at you with tire irons because you had a Trump sticker on your car. Who are you going to go and ask for help? The police, they don't have enough resources all the time. So you're going to end up starting to see people in gangs, and they're going to go and have just brawls on the street over political issues. They're just going to get, guns will probably get involved at some point. We're going to have, just riots across the country because it all started with these leftists, because they don't, people don't want to be in fear, and just because they have a political opinion that you might disagree with. And then if they're told that, you can't have this opinion, if you do, we're going to go and harass you and get you fired from your job, then people are going to want some protection. That's why racketeering works, for the mafia. That's what they do. They offer protection from the other, gang, and that's what's going to happen over here. And I don't think that's the world that most people want to live in. And I just hope that this stops before we end up having to live in, this sort of crazy world where it's the political parties become like violent militias, like paramilitaries, and it's just like worse than the Wild West. It's like gang warfare, but instead of the Bloods and the Crips, you got the Democrats and the Republicans. Like, we don't want to live in that sort of world.
Yeah, and you mentioned Charlottesville, and I'm glad you did because, that was like the biggest, clashing last summer of, the identitarians on the left and the right, the identity politics just coming together literally head on and just eating each other up. But what I'm afraid now is because they're trying to plan another one of those rallies, I think this summer, of, another, alt-right rally, and you're going to have fucking Antifa probably show up, and it has the potential to be even worse than last time. Like, you could see multiple people get killed over whatever reason, and, I'm afraid of that happening, because, like, it's just so toxic now, and, the alt-right to fringe group, and, nobody likes them, but, when you have people coming out to protest, looking the way they look, like, you're going to create problems. You're going to create, you're going to charge up emotions like you wouldn't believe. And right now we're at a point where, these people think it's justified to harass anybody on that they disagree with. And, it's one thing when they're justifying against, like, oh, punch a Nazi, but they're now going to the level of punch a Trump supporter, punch somebody that has a MAGA hat.
I think it's okay to punch a Nazi. You shouldn't punch anyone unless they like punched you first. I don't think.
No. Yeah, I better be clear. I'm not saying it's okay to punch anyone. I don't think you should punch anyone, even Nazis. As much as you'd want to, I wouldn't punch them. But what I'm saying is that now that was the level last year, was punch a Nazi. Now it's becoming like punch anyone, like punch a congressman, punch a Trump supporter, punch anybody that's like moderately right, or the punch Dave Rubin they might be saying next. My point is that it's like, they smear Trump supporters as Nazis, but now they're just so blatant about it. Now it's just punch them because they like Trump. Like, it's getting, what I'm saying is, like, all these groups, these fringy groups of like the alt-right, like, yeah, you could see like shit getting really thrown at them because like they're a hateful group and people hate them. So you expect bad shit to happen, but now this bad shit is happening at these more moderate political leaning levels, and it's getting nuts. Like, it's just so bad.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, if they want to, like, they could have easily stopped Charlottesville from becoming bad if they actually like used common sense.
Yeah,
like what they did at Berkeley, keep people from wearing masks, keep people from bringing weapons, and just do a quick pat down. Boom. They wouldn't have had that happen. I think they wanted Charlottesville to grow like it was because they saw it as good optics if there's a fight. Like, I think, I don't want to say Charlottesville was an inside job, but I think there was a way to stop it, and they chose not to do it. Whether it was out of, I think it kind of was an inside job. I think they wanted to become a shit show because they could have, like, they seen what works, to prevent these things, and they could have done it. It's not very hard to prevent people from bringing weapons, to places. It's not hard to go and block off streets. It's not hard to go and stop, like, people from, getting into these massive groups, without being properly vetted. Like, they did that in Berkeley, and it worked. So I hope that the next Charlottesville or whatever it's going to be, I hope that they actually institute a common, I don't want to say common sense, things, but just like make sure people are not going to cause a riot over there and actually have the police do their job. Because, I've heard from people that Charlottesville was allowed to become what it was. The police weren't really doing anything.
Yeah. And that's always the case with these. Like in Berkeley, the police weren't doing shit, and they let Antifa like burn the place to the ground. Like, it is genuinely like shocking how either incompetent or purposefully inactive the police are. Like, I really don't know how to word it because it's just like they were just told like to stand down so many times.
Well, it's just on the police who are doing that. So
yeah,
people in charge.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
If anyone needs to be like, brought up to the conversation, they need to be like fired for that.
Yeah.
They need to go and be like, you allowed this to happen. You told them to stand down when they obviously shouldn't have. They should be sued, honestly, because they allowed that lady to die because they created an environment that was a riot. If there was not a riot there, I doubt that person would have died. Say whether or not this person just like ran over someone because they wanted to, what, but I think if there wasn't a riot and there weren't people with like rifles and like metal bats bashing shit, I
Yeah.
think this wouldn't have been as big of an issue as it was.
Yeah.
But speaking of riots with like speaking of demonstrations with guns, we have a story about one that did not turn out into like a shit show. It was the Triggered Millennials rally.
Yes. Yes, there was a Triggered Millennials, who is a right-wing pro-gun group that has been started by a bunch of people from Penn State. They had a rally in Pennsylvania that I attended and saw to get a sense of what they're doing and all that, because I was interested in them. And, it was in front of the courthouse in town here, pretty popular town in the area of Pennsylvania. And they had a bunch of speakers, there were members of their group, and about 45 people showed up in terms of the turnout of the event. But the main speaker was Maj Toure, I think that's how you pronounce his name, but he's better known as Black Guns Matter. That's his sort of advocacy slogan that he's using. And I'd never heard of him before. I'd seen that he did an interview with Triggered Millennials on their YouTube channel, but I hadn't watched the interview. But this was my first time hearing him speak. And I have to say, he impressed me. He's a very talented, energetic, passionate public speaker. He knows how to connect with the audience, especially, young people. He's definitely, somebody to follow, and I'd say, like, if you want a pro-gun speaker, get this guy. Because he's somewhat lesser known, but I'm telling you, this guy has it in him. He gets it. And I was listening to him talk to people that were at the event after, right after his speech. I'm listening to him, and he's very well spoken. He has good arguments. The guy's good. But I also, when I went out to lunch with some of my pals, he was there too, and we talked to him at the end, and he was explaining to us stuff about optics, and it was really fascinating. I was going to touch on that because, when I went, I learned about the event. Like, I didn't, know if there was supposed to be an attire to wear. I didn't even think there was. So I just showed up in my black shorts and my Rolling Stones shirt. And my sandals. I just looked like me. I didn't look like anything else. It was just how I dress. But all the other people there were dressed very nicely in khakis or dress pants and button-down shirts and all that. And so I was kind of the odd one out. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't feel like the odd one out or anything, because I was just dressing how I normally dress, and everybody that was attending it, other than my pals, they were all dressed super businessy, I guess you could say. I just dressed like a normal person, like all the other normal people that attend the rally, But a lot of those people that attend the rally were your stereotypical right-wing NRA members with their NRA hat, tattoos, big muscles, big beard, burly men, So it's kind of like a little bit of a stereotype for quite a few of them, dressed all in red, white, and blue and all that. And what was interesting was Black Guns Matter was talking to us, and we were all circled around his table, and he was looking at us, and he said, he's talking about presentation, and we've talked about this on our Foundry episodes and other stuff, but he's talking about presentation. He said, one of the things you guys need to do is look at you guys. You're all dressed up kind of like, you look like preppy boys. You look like, kind of rich kids the way you're dressing. And then he pointed to me, he said, but this guy looks like Shaggy. I laughed because it's not the first time I've heard that, because I have big bushy curly hair, and he's like, this guy, he's like, he said, he looks totally different from my guys, because he's dressed in a basically, he said, like, in an approachable manner. He says, because when people are walking by this rally, they see those stereotypical like NRA people with their big burly muscles and ripped shirts and NRA hats and all that, and they go, ooh, those are those pro-gun people, ooh. But, if they see somebody that looks like me, which, I'm going to be honest, I don't look like your typical Republican, I look kind of like a Bernie bro, it subverts their expectations, and they go, huh. And they stop, and they think about it for a second. And then that's when you got them. That's when you got them right there, because their expectations were shattered, and then they become interested. Like, why is this person there? And they sort of maybe have a connection with that. That's not saying that my look's going to appeal to most people. They certainly are not. But if you have those diverse groups of people, like let's say you have a Latino guy or a black guy there, like this guy was black. Black Guns Matter is a black guy, and he's got long hair, and he looks like a Democrat. I'm not gonna lie, but he isn't. And so that gets your attention. It's all about getting attention, getting interest, getting people involved. But then he actually said to me, he said, this guy, he's pointing at me, he says, this guy's the safest motherfucker in the hood. I was like, okay. He's like, you all would get fucking shot. And I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying there, but he was, like I say, a funny guy, interesting. It was an interesting experience, I have to say. I mean, I was being kind of shy that day, not talking to many people, but mostly observing. But it did make me because he was talking about basically authenticity. You definitely gotta look nice. You don't want to look like a bum, but you gotta look like yourself. You gotta have authenticity because people value authenticity. I mean, that's why Trump won. Was he politically incorrect? Hell yeah. Was he the cleanest speaker? No way. He was no JFK.
But he was authentic.
Yeah, he always dressed up because what is he? He's a businessman. Trump never is in flip-flops and t-shirts because that's just not how he dresses. He dresses like a businessman. But what does he dress? I've said this from the very beginning of his campaign because I noticed it right away. He always wears red and blue ties. He always wears a blue or black blazer. He's always wearing red, white, and blue. The guy is never wearing a purple tie or a pink tie or green tie. No, it's always American patriotic colors. It fits his brand of America First, of being patriotic. It's, it sounds like basic stuff, but some politicians don't do that. Obama didn't do that. I think that's because he was trying to appeal to the urban vote. That's not too all, it's not super America, fuck yeah, patriotic stuff. But Trump knew his brand. And at the same time, you'll see a lot of these politicians, like Paul Ryan or whoever, when they go to like a restaurant or something, they always do this fucking thing where they wear a polo. Ooh, man of the people right there. No, you fucking fake. And that's what people sense, fakeness. They don't sense authenticity. When Trump goes to a restaurant or does any of these casual things, he still wears his suit and tie. Why? Because that's who he is. He is a businessman. He dresses like a businessman. Paul Ryan is just a politician. He's not some fucking guy in a polo. He's not some business, business casual dressing guy. It's fake. It's not. It's like when Hillary put on that fucking like Russian hat. Like, it's so unauthentic. You're trying to be like the people, but you're not. So whatever your brand is, or you'll stick to yourself. That's what it should be. And that's a big takeaway I got from this.
Yeah, that seemed like a very fun rally to show up to. Unfortunately, I was unable to make a trip across the state, but they did have a different type of a convention where I was at, and they had a very different dress code. There's not a person in an NRA shirt to be seen, but we did see some people who they had a very special sort of suit. And, I live around the Pittsburgh area, and I was just so happened to be downtown at the time. I was taking my girlfriend out. We went to have a couple drinks, and we were walking around, and we spotted some people in a very interesting outfit because there was a convention known as Anthrocon, where there's a subsect of people known as the furry community. They're adults. They dress up as animals. From what I understand, like 80% of them do it for sexual purposes. I got this from a Stefan interview with the Furry. And they were walking around town, and it was pretty hot out. So I mean, these guys must have been some troopers, or they must have been high, probably a little bit of both. They were walking around downtown in fursuits. They were just hanging about. Like it was really kind of creepy, because like, it's just like in the middle of the day, you see like some like guy in a fox who come up to you, and he's like, there's some Chester the cheetah wannabe over there, and he was putting his like paws up on this like building and like staring at people, and, like kind of bouncing it off of there. I tried to go and ask him what is a furry, and they just pointed to himself. He didn't speak. I guess he was really into his fursona. And yeah, they were just walking around town, and there's a lot of people who didn't have anything. We could tell they were furries because they had the apparent, like, the little badges from Anthropon. And then we also met a black Israelite who was telling us that, like, the end of the days are coming because of some House bill that was passed about slavery. Like, it was really creepy, and I taught that man about the furries over here, and he was. I think we did find common ground on our discuss of this sexual fetish of furryism. And yeah, it was very weird seeing them go up to like little kids, and like the parents were just like, "Okay, I'll let them take a picture." They probably,
Jesus.
like, I would not let my kids near furries. It's a very deviant sexual fetish.
Degenerate.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. Like, they want to go and like dress up as animals and sexually. And I saw people with like artists like tags on them. Like, oh my god, they probably just like draw like pictures of like cow, like horse sticks and
I was
stuff.
gonna say they draw a dick on it.
Probably that's like all they do is like draw animals having sex. I walked past a van, and there's like all these like My Little Pony toys in there, and like some furry artwork on the dash. I don't know if he was like just showing off his wares or something, and like, oh yeah, I'm the biggest furry in the hood. They call me Papa Wolf. I don't know. There's some really strange folks over there, but I would have attended the other rally, but like I was on the other side of the state. But at least I had something interesting to talk about.
No, man,
So,
I think you had the bigger experience out where you were.
I see, like, I wish Trigger Millennials would come out towards the west side of Pennsylvania. I'd like to see that. I mean, Philly's Philly, but there's a lot of cool stuff on the west side of Pennsylvania. A lot of somewhat pro-gun people in this big city. Surprisingly, for being a big city, I've seen like they have all these gun ranges out here, and they really ought to go and fix up how they do gun ranges in America, because it's such a pain in the ass when I go from like. I might have like a house somewhere, in like Pennsylvania, but then like let's say I'm going up to like Texas or down to Texas, and I want to go to a gun range. It'd be nice if they had like a system in place, and I'd like to go and talk about this in like a Foundry episode. But I think that could definitely be an interesting idea. But anyways, I think that was most of what we were talking about today. But keep sending. We have an email address now if you want to reach out to us. If you have something interesting you'd like us to speak about, you could do a one-off on that or bring it up in the news. If you got any breaking information, especially any information that can lead to the arrest of Hillary Rodham Clinton. We can always use that. No, just kidding. I don't want to die. But I know that we also have a competition going on about the Space Force.
Yes.
Send us your artwork, original artwork of what you want the Space Force to look like, and whoever's like really cool, real shell at some point. Once we hopefully have at least 100, so that we don't give out participation trophies. I don't want to have to do that, folks. And I think that the more artwork we get, the better. Hopefully we'll have this out before we actually need a Space Force to have like Space Marines and shit out on Mars or whatever. So, please send those in. What's the email address again?
Send them to versanewsmedia@gmail.com. I'll put it in the video description. If you don't use email for whatever reason, and as an absolute last resort, you can, of course, DM us on Twitter @versanewsmedia. But please just email to us. That's the easiest way. Again, it's versanewsmedia@gmail.com. And like he said, we will sort through submissions, pick the best one, or top 3, depending if we can get 3 submissions. But we're not going to hand out participation trophies. We don't award mediocrity. We award excellence and exceptionalism. But I'd love to see your guys' creations, because it's a fun little thing to play with and have fun with. If you want to follow Trigger Millennials, you can search them on Facebook and Twitter. I forget their handles because they're all different. But if you just Google them, you'll find them. You can tell quickly who you can tell who it's them right when you find them. But we hope to have an interview with them at some point. Probably expect that more in September, in the fall, because we'll have better quality mics and all that stuff. So that should be coming down the pike soon. And you, of course, follow them on social media if you're interested. They're definitely a group that's very... I will say this. I want to mention, before we wrap up here. The people that organized the event, I was very impressed with their skills. They are a very talented, passionate, energetic group of young people that really do give a shit about gun rights. Like, I think most gun people, like, really do give a shit about it. But there's a lot of groups where you'll see people virtue signaling. You know, people will sometimes maybe throw a few dollars at, but they're not going to do the, you know, bend over backwards, hard work, and actually organize shit and get shit happening and get activism and people on the ground and actually go out and do something. You don't always see that. You know, like I was just watching actually the other night on Mark Levin's show. He had Gary Sinise on, who's an actor and does a lot of work for the vets. He doesn't just, you know, give them money or do stuff like that. He is working his ass off, helping them with events, going on, you know, dinners with them and playing them music and going to museums with them and building homes for them. Like, this guy's working his ass off. That's what I'm not trying to, you know, draw the biggest comparison here, because obviously Trigger Millennials is a smaller group, but it's the work ethic that I see, you know, in these people is like what you see with some of these other big organizations. So what I'm saying is these guys could become something really big, because I see the passion in them and I see the drive in them. And even if you disagree with them, just come out and talk to them. They're all very nice people of all, you know, colors, genders, and which there are only two of, and backgrounds. Like, it's people of every nature, and that's what I saw there, and that's what was so nice. That all, you know, all these people coming together under a, you know, common cause. And we may have disagreed probably on some things on guns. Like, I'm not the biggest gun nut in the world. I'm not even a gun nut at all. Like, I actually am for some gun regulation, but we're still going in the right direction, and I still believe strongly in the Second Amendment. So we're still friends. We still talk to each other. You know, it's a great group of guys and gals that definitely follow them on social media. And like I said, they have strong passion. You know, they may not be a big dog yet, but they very well could be.
All right, but anyways, I think that'll be enough for tonight. So I'll see you folks next week, and maybe before then, if we can get ourselves some interesting, you know, snacks in between the meals.
Snacks.
We'll get you out some delicious snackaronis. We'll leave out some crumbs for you.
Some crubs. Were you Nancy Pelosi?
Ooh, yeah. All right, but anyways, see you around. Been fun.
Yep. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.